Hello and welcome to Lancing Steel of Spraying, the minigun fortress that you've seen can clear tier 30 Simulacrum maps and all of that on a budget and beginner version with all the PoB and everything. It's going to be linked down in the description below. But now let's go over the showcase. Before I show you the map that I've done, I will show you the skill itself, because this one has a little bit of an explanation in order. So it says Lancing Steel of Spraying is an alternate quality, well, alternate transfigured gem for Lancing Steel, and via Lancing Steel, well, in contrary to Lancing Steel, it is not a 2-button build, it's a 1-button build. For Lancing Steel regular version, you need to press the button called Call of Steel to get steel shards, and then you throw 3 Lancing Steels, and then you repeat the process. However, this one is seamless. You deal less damage, but it is seamless without any on-off. So it's a 1-button build, basically. So it says this: thrust an axe or sword forward to form a cluster of shards in front of you. The cluster will fire a number of projectiles aiming at enemies in front or close to it. It has a half-half aimbot on it. So if you fire it in one direction, it can, like, 90-degree angle get your target, but we remove that thing with a Savior. However, just aim in general direction and you will hit the target. That's is the general rule for the spraying. Now it says this: projectiles pierce all targets, added physical damage, fires 11 projectiles and hits after the first on each enemy, deal 90% less damage, which is sort of irrelevant once you start doing returning Proj or maybe Nimis later on and so on. It deals a crazy amount of damage, especially as we have double damage from our things. I will explain that in a second. However, the gem works, it hits the first target, it goes through the target, and then because of returning projectiles that we have, it returns to your location and then goes a little bit back. This is enhanced with Nimis, but yeah. Anyways, for showcase, here it is. Oh, there we go. So here is the showcase. And what I did for a map, I did Harbingers in the map here, and there will be Ultimatum as well as other things. But I will keep the PoB on the side so that you can see what I'm talking about while the video plays. I might as well just do it like this. There we go. Now, how does this build work? We need to be a champion. So we are a duelist, we are a champion, and we are going for Unstoppable Hero, Fortitude for Fortification and Armor and Evasion rating, Master of Metal for Impales, and we are going for First to Strike, Last to Fall, to permanently intimidate enemies that are on low life, and we gain Adrenaline. What does Adrenaline do? Adrenaline gives us increased damage, attack cast movement speed, and physical damage reduction. It also removes any ailment that we... This is the last line: remove all ailments and burning when you gain Adrenaline. Whenever we gain Adrenaline, it removes all ailments. However, we are ailment immune, but this will remove bleeding, and it will not remove corrupted blood, which is a sad thing, but that's why there's a life flask. Now, the build is ailment immune. It is not poison immune. You can make it poison immune. You can make it bleeding immune, so it's either bleeding or poison immune. Corrupted blood immunity is also not done because this is a cheaper version, and anything that you do as extra for corrupted blood is going to cost a pretty penny. So I kept that in the theory section. But it is working on evasion and armor both. It's using both evasion and armor to mitigate as much damage as possible, and it also has 15% block chance. So there's that too. Now, when it comes to the gear itself, the gear is totaling around 45 divines. It's between 40 and 50 divines for the version you are seeing in the video and that you saw in the Simulacrum Wave 30 showcase. You do not need anything more expensive to run content. However, you cannot sit still and do everything all the time, but it is possible to do most of it. Now, is it tier 17 viable? Yes. Do I showcase tier 17 maps? Hell no. Reason why is tier 17 maps take too long to reroll to avoid all the dangerous modifiers, and I dislike them so much that I do not want to showcase them in these types of videos. However, you can look through my VODs on YouTube or on Twitch, and you can see how it deals with tier 17 maps. It can do tier 17 maps, it can do uber bosses. However, you need to be very careful because no region actually demolishes us pretty easily. Now, it doesn't have too much damage, but it has damage helpers. Now, for the Ascendancy, the fifth Ascendancy, we're choosing Inspirational because we want effective non-curse auras, and we want to get life regen, banner skills, no reservation. This is basically helping the tankiness. Let's go over the items so you would know in general what to expect, and later on in the video I will go through the leveling process and things, because leveling with a steel skill is a pain, and I do not recommend doing that. I recommend doing any other melee skill or doing my bleed bow gladiator and then transitioning into this. I will cover that in this video. This video might be a little bit longer. Timestamps will be included. Okay, first things first. For endgame, you would want like a good 600 plus PDPS weapon, because next upgrade would be Paradoxica or 700, 750 plus weapon, which is going to be like 50, 60, 70 plus divine cost. However, this one is pretty decent. For a 7 divine purchase, it's completely fine. 640 PDPS. It has attack speed. It doesn't have crit. Crit would be the better version, but it is what it is. It's cheap. It's reliable. It's good. Now, that's for Necropolis. For the further leagues, it could be like 5 to 10 divines, depending on the league, for 600 plus PDPS, but it's good overall. Savior is pretty much for endgame mandatory. It was around 6 divines when I bought it, and I also did all the notes, all the write-ups, everything is there as with my every build guide. Savior basically gives us 2 clones that fire the same ability that triggered it. However, the Savior also does 2 times 50% of our damage, which effectively means any damage that we have is doubled because of Savior. And also the screen coverage helps immensely with it. It was around 6 divines, it's I think around 8 divines at the date of making this video, but sub 10 divines weapon, which is going to help you a lot. Now, helmet is bog standard fracture chaos res and then essence of loathing to get resistance and whatever you want on prefixes. You can of course roll the prefixes with Eldritch Chaos Orb by having Searing Exarch be dominant, which means greater Exarch and lesser Eater, but that's it. This is a standard bog standard helmet for technically a lot of physical builds, and you need mana reservation efficiency and reduced mana cost for implicits from Searing and Eater. Now, when it comes to the chest piece is Chaos Res Fracture, because I want to get Chaos Res as high as possible, and then I rolled it with essences for resistance. I was unsuccessful in getting the second resistance modifier on, but I was successful in getting armor, evasion rating, and life, so I just crafted life and mana. This was a cheaper one, but I will count all of these at around 3 divs, even though they can be done for 1 divine or less. So I'm counting like around 3 divs. I think 2 divs would be an average. Now, for implicits, determination, and resistances, max resistances just helps for defenses. Determination, you can do determination, pride, or grace, whichever one you drop first. That's it. Lesser modifier, no need for anything higher. For gauntlets, this is pretty mandatory so that we save 3 passive points on the tree, which is for accuracy. We need to roll this with accuracy. I am doing, again, Chaos Res Fracture, attack speed, accuracy. Attack speed is Deafening Essence of Zeal. You can do the lower tiers one if you want to make it cheaper. I have that in the PoB as well. I will go through it, don't worry. And you want some evasion rating armor and crafted life. That's basically it. If you manage to get life, I would do damage while leeching or damage during any flask effect. So that would be what I would do personally for them if you get the life. Boots are ailment immunity boots. I have made a crafting video about those. You can find it in the PoB or in the description down below. I will link it, of course. And that's basically the bog standard boots. It's around 2 to 2.5 divines to make. Nothing too difficult. However, if you get like 40% chance to avoid being shocked on an implicit, you can do anything else. I had these from before. I would suggest doing from the crafting guide. It's a little bit easier to get like more life and things, but yeah, bog standard boots, not too expensive. For amulet, replica Dragon Fang's Flight is a very good amulet for lancing steel gems. Gives us additional 15% damage, and it gives us LRS, reservation efficiency, reduced attribute requirements is whatever. But it's around 60 to 1 divine neck, and we use 20 attribute catalysts to get extra attributes. And you need 3 golden oils to get Whispers of Doom so that we can apply 2 curses. And this is cheaper than actually having it on the chest with all the other modifiers. So for the theory crafting, I did put it there, but yeah, this is a very cheap necklace. It works well. It's great until Owl's necklace, as is Bis for the end game. Now, ring 1 is vulnerability ring with life. You can do resistances on it. I rolled it. I bought the base, Warlord base, and I used the Life Force. However, yesterday on stream, you could see me spend 35k life force to not get it. But what you do need on this one, you just need life and you just need vulnerability. Anything else you get is extra. It's usually done in 50 clicks, so that would be 3.5k life force roughly, and 3750 life force. And that would be like a third of a divine. So this is under a divine to get vulnerability and life, hopefully, but get vulnerability and anything else that's useful. Craft whatever you don't have. Usually that's non-channeling to -7 total mana cost. For the second ring is a pure stat stick that we need attributes on. Strength, intelligence, and all attributes is mwah. And I just did crafted life. If it had life instead of mana, I would craft non-channeling, but this is around 1.5 divine for ring catalysts. It's up to 2 because it really has an insane amount of attributes. That's what we need. The base does not matter. If you can find amethyst, that's great, but the base does not matter. Now, the thing that carries the whole build is Perseverance. Perseverance is a belt that gives us life, res, attack damage per 200 of lowest armor and evasion rating, melee hits which stun fortify, and you have onslaught while fortified. Because we have fortification all the time, we are fortified, we get onslaught, and this belt gives us attack damage per lowest of armor and evasion rating. It's an insanely good belt for 10 Chaos Orbs. And until Mage Blood, it's practically Bis. It's practically Bis because of free onslaught and because of the damage it gives. Also the life and resistances. Now, when it comes to flasks, before we go to clusters, flasks... Life Flask that I've been using throughout my builds. I always love to use Panicked Flask or Terrified. When you are at 50% life, it restores 2.4k. Perfect flask. Diamond Flask with Crit Strike chance with charges reach full. Jade with Evasion. Granite with Armor. And Sulfur Flask for less effect of curses on us and attack speed on it. You can do less effect of curses and less effect of curses. like curses inflicted on you have less effect, and that would make us curse immune. I just rolled attack speed and stopped there, so I'm happy. I'm happy with this. But you can do Sulfur Flask with curse, like less effective curses, and you can effectively be curse immune as well. Now on jewels, I'll go with large ones first. Large ones are standard. I took these ones from my Bleed Bow Gladiator build, and it's Battle Hardened Furious Assault Master, the fundamentals. It's basically the same one. Same one for two of those, so that's it. I just did elemental resistances on this one and dexterity on this one. I just tossed an exalted orb on it, and that's basically it. They are like a divine each. Medium cluster jewels, I was playing around with projectiles and things. I didn't like it. I chose to go with crit ones. Crit ones, precise retaliation and pressure points, which is crit chance if you haven't blocked recently, crit multi if you have blocked recently, crit strikes have chance to deal double damage, and crit. I also crafted this one myself. This was around a divine and a half to craft. The other one was half a divine to craft. So it's around 2 divines to craft them both. For all attributes, 5 res, pressure points, quick getaway, pressure points, as I've said, quick getaway, attack and cast speed, movement speed if you dealt a crit strike recently, and increased crit strike chance, just helps overall. However, I needed resistance in this segment, so that's why I rolled those. Small cluster jewel is pretty much mandatory, and you can craft this one for around 1 divine. You need to just alt regal spam it to get increased effect, sublime form, and all elemental resistances. If you don't get all elemental resistances, it's fine, you can get anything else, but sublime form is pretty much needed because it gives us plus 10 to all, and grace reduced mana reservation efficiency. It's a very, very, very nice small cluster jewel that will help us with our mana problems. Now, for the other ones, Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh for inspirational, for 5th Ascendancy, Lethal Pride that gives us, this was 100 chaos, Lethal Pride that gives us, I chose the one with Intimidate, with fizz damage, double damage. You basically look for double damage. You don't do Intimidate because you will always intimidate enemies on full life due to your Ascendancy. And this one gave fire res, and it was a perfect one for my build. But on the theory one I have with, I think, triple or quad, double damage. So that's what you are looking for. We need that extra strength, and you're looking for double damage as much as you can possibly fit. The Intimidate is not important. The life leech is not important. We have plenty of that. Storm Shroud is for boots, self-explanatory for ailment immunity. And Watcher's Eye is very important. Impales you inflict last 2 additional hits while using Pride, and chance to suppress spell damage while affected by Grace. This build is 100% spell suppress capped, with a caveat. You get 13% here, or however much, you need 10 basically, and you get 15% from Courage. Courage is a node that gives us armor and evasion rating if we have been hit and if we haven't been hit recently, and it gives us 15% chance to suppress spell damage if you've hit an enemy recently, as we are hitting all the time. We are always going to get that 15% spell suppress. I liked this option more because more tankiness versus getting 10 here and anything else, but that helps. What else helps with tankiness? Helps Dazzling Strikes, which gives us blind. However, if you want to remove this blind, you can always remove it here, add life, add poison immunity via armor and evasion mastery because we have a higher evasion rating on helmet, and you can do here chance to maim and blind enemies with main and offhand strikes. So you can do that way as well if you like more options. Now, when it comes to Impale, we are using Forceful Skewering, Merciless Skewering, and 20% chance on Sword Mastery. I like to have consistent Impales, 100% Impale. However, you can go without this Sword Mastery. It will do just as fine. I just recommend that. Now, what would I recommend if you're not level 100? I would recommend removing the crit multi for lethality recommend removing that, and you can remove blind, and this is level 94. For 95 you can do this until you get other points there. So you can pretty much level it easily to level 100 even with the bleed bow. Now that concludes this preview of the gear that I have. Now let's go over to the beginner part of the guide and how I recommend leveling this guide. I recommend leveling this guide as a bleed bow. Now, I don't have the gear set up here. I will add this for the final version of the PoB after recording. I have unfortunately forgotten, but it follows my bleed bow gladiator guide fully. So if you want to use and have two fun builds that you can play either or, you can follow my bleed bow gladiator. It's going to be perfectly fine. For this, it even uses the same cluster, large cluster jewels, so you can play it up to like red tier maps without problem, and then swap to Lancing Steel of Spraying. Everything is going to work. However, I do not recommend doing Lancing Steel. Now on that one, for leveling, to level steel skills mostly have the pull-in and throw-away, playstyle. However, their damage is generally bad and low for leveling, and I would recommend doing either Lacerate, Full Bleed Lacerate, or doing Bleed Bow Gladiator. Now, Bleed Bow Gladiator is much more fun for me and for beginners because it's very beginner friendly, it's SSF friendly and everything, so you are not going to have any issues and troubles. You can change Ascendancy points while you do the lab. You just have to do any lab. I choose to do like the easiest one, the level 33 one, the normal lab, and then before you click on the divine font, you respec your passive points, and then you can swap to a different Ascendancy. So even the transition from bleed bow to Lancing Steel is going to be extremely easy. Now, without further ado, acts are the same here as I did for bleed bow. It's carbon copy of it. I will share that video as well in the description below, and the gear as well is going to be done here, nothing to worry about. But once you reach this is white maps with suppression. Once you reach enough currency that you can swap to Lancing Steel, and once you get the Lancing Steel of Spraying Transfigured Gem, I do not recommend doing the Lancing Steel itself, Lancing Steel of Spraying. You can either farm it in a lab, or it has 1 in 20 chance to drop, as with every dexterity gem, or as with every gem in general, versus buying it, depending on if it's cheap. Earlier in the league, it's like 10 chaos-ish to buy, so it's nothing too big of a deal. There's not many people playing this build, so you will be hopefully golden. But yeah, you can do Bleed Bow. Bleed Bow is going to help you gain currency for transition, and Bleed Bow uses a lot of similar things for transitioning to Lancing Steel of Spraying. Now, once you transition to Lancing Steel of Spraying, you are swapping to the full Ascendancy points. I did not do Inspirational because we are going to the left side wheel here just to help with mana reservation, because we're not using Enlighten at the beginning. And you are going to follow this one, swap to Lancing Steel of Spraying. I have everything labeled so you can follow it easily and properly. So 1, 2, 3 basically means tree 1, 2, and 3. 4, 5, 6 has its own thing, 4, 5, 6, and skills also follow the same way. So please follow the PoB correctly and you will not have any problems. It took me a long time to assemble this one. Please use the tools. Now, swapping is here without any clusters. We can add large clusters later, 5th Ascendancy and medium clusters, and then gear and prep for endgame. And in the end, we have my current endgame tree. This is also followed here, upgrades before endgame. The 4.5, by the way, 4.5, because these are crafted upgrades that you can do before my upgrades. That's why it's 4.5, and Uber endgame theory. Let me go over these items. I have written everything for these items, what to buy, how to do and what works. Belt Timber Blade works great as a beginning weapon because it gives us far shot, and skills fire 2 additional proj if you use the movement skill. Just leap slam once, and that's basically it. It works great. Any 10 chaos 350 PDPS sword, and for any of these it follows the same thing. For a 6-link, you can buy any corrupted 6-link that fills in your resistances, life, and things, and that will also help you. It's usually between 10 and 40 chaos at league start. Perseverance, you can buy any role as well. Now, that's for 1 to 3. That's basically here, 1 to 3. Now, once you do the swap to 4, upgrade before endgame, that's where we actually start upgrading things like Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh, jewels. We are going with Replica Dragonfang's Flight, 500 PDPS weapons, which are like a 3 to 5 divine each. They are still cheaper than going Savior, but you can go Savior if you have the currency for it. Helmet and all the crafts are basically done, and they are explained as well in how, like, in the beginning of this guide, and how to do them. So you can just follow throughout the guide, and please do watch the entire guide, as it's going to help you. Now you have 3 sockets. You can always do like life, physical damage, resistances. Just fill them in. That's basically it. Then 4.5. These are some crafted things that I did. This one includes the cheap sword and includes a savior, because I went with the option: do you invest 10 divines into 2 weapons, or 6, 7, 8 divines into getting a savior? I would do the savior, so that's that. And everything here is, of course, written how to do. My endgame gear has been explained. And now for the last segment of this guide, we are going into theories. Oh, actually, no. Before the last segment. Oops, my bad. For gems. Gems are also written as the guide progresses, so keep that in mind. And where you add Enlighten, where you add the auras, everything is set up properly. Sorry for missing that one. And my current setup is written on... It's basically done on what is the gem priority to do, but you can do however you'd like. And returning projectiles gets a swap for Uber Endgame. Now, I can swap to Uber Endgame, and Uber Endgame theory basically gives us more auras, more defenses, more everything. However, it is optimized. It's not optimized to perfection, but it's optimized so that you won't have any troubles and issues. If you want to invest like 2 mirrors into the build, you can. Now, here's the thing. You go with an extremely good weapon, 750 PDPS, very, very good weapon. This one barely out DPSs Paradoxica, but Paradoxica can be way more expensive, so keep that in mind. Weapon 2 is Savior, just a better rolled Savior. Helmet, fully crafted with Orb of Dominance. I'm not writing this down because I expect people who get to this place of farming mirrors and multiple hundreds of divines, I expect them to know this. However, I want to have this just so that you guys would know what your next step is. And every item has been done not to perfection, because that's unrealistic, but to be 20 to 30 to 50 divine crafting budget per item. Owl's Uprising gives us haste, and we are using Val haste anyways, gives us haste that we can use for free, and we are also adding an additional aura, which is Arctic Armor, so that we get even more tanky, pardon. Now, for the ring, Nimis, obviously, and crafted ring, which is, yeah, 20 to 50 divines easily. Mage Blood, of course, with 3 flasks, and it's uncorrupted Mage Blood. We need the strength. Progenesis, to keep us alive even better. Sulfur Flask, to give us more damage while enemies are consecrated ground. You have to click is enemy a consecrated ground here, so that you would have it as extra. And Jade, Granite, and Silver Flask for everything else. Now, jewels and everything has been upgraded, and the expensive thing is Corrupted Blood on Storm Shroud Jewel. But this will cover the whole build guide for this minigun, the towering minigun build. It has been a blast to find. I think this is currently my Magnum Opus. I haven't seen anyone play it. I've seen a few people on PoE Ninja play it, and I compared notes. They went more damage route, where there's no need to. It's budget friendly, even though, yes, it's 40 divine budget, yes. But it is still budget friendly where you can actually farm currency with a bleed bow easily, and it uses similar things to bleed bow, so it's going to help you transition easier. I count everything under 50 divines to do uber endgame. Keep in mind, Simulacrum 30 cannot be done by every build. I count that budget friendly, as you can easily farm, even as a beginner, half a divine to 1 divine per hour by just playing the game. You just need to play the game, nothing else. Just play the game. That's what I will always give you guys as an advice. Always play the game and you will earn currency easily, no problemo. Just if you like to play, I like to play Harbingers right now. Play Harbingers. You like Breach? Play Breach. Sell Breach Stones. Play Legion. Do whatever you like. You will always earn currency. But that was the outro section. Sorry that this has been a longer video, but it has been a full breakdown of everything. Lancing Steel of Spraying is the machine gun that's extremely tanky. So thank you so much for watching. If you've liked the video, give it a like. Sub if you don't mind. Thank you so much for your support. You guys are awesome. And I will see you on the next stream or PoE video. Have a good one. And once again, thank you so much for watching.